Hello everyone, welcome to ITLS Academy. Our lecture is continuation part of microbial spoilage and preservation of pharmaceutical products. This is part 3. Two parts of this particular chapter we have already discussed in our previous lectures. If you have not seen that, you can refer to the videos. Okay, let's start part 3 of microbial spoilage and preservation techniques. We are going to see preservation of medicines using antimicrobial agents. And first of all, we will see basic principles. Introduction. First point is an antimicrobial preservative may be included in a formulation to further reduce the risk of spoilage and preferably kill any anticipated low levels of contaminants remaining in a non-sterile medicine after manufacture or which might enter while stored or during the repeated withdrawal of doses from a multi-dose container. The bad practice of including preservatives in medicines sterilized by filtration to guard against undetected failure of filter did not tackle the real problem of the need for properly validated filtration systems. Next point is ideally such preservatives should first point should be able to kill rapidly all microbial contaminants as they enter the medicines. Point 2 is preservatives should not be irritant or toxic to the patient. Point 3 is preservatives should be stable and effective throughout the life of the medicines. And the last one is preservatives should be selective in reacting with the contaminants and not the ingredients of the medicine. Unfortunately, the most active microbial agents are often generally non-selective in action, interacting significantly with formulation ingredients and patients as well as microorganisms. A question arises here is that what is the need for preservation and what is need for preservatives. So let's see why the preservation is required. So the need is to protect our drug from microbial attack. Next, to stabilize our product. Next is to increase shelf life of our product. And the next one is to enhance activity and efficacy of drug. These are some need for preservatives And you can see that all these needs are interlinked somehow. You can see this is linked with this, these two are also linked, and these two are also again linked. So we can say that need for preservatives are many and all needs are interlinked. Here comes some factors that affect antimicrobial preservatives. So now we will see factors affecting efficacy of antimicrobial preservatives. We will see some factors that are responsible for efficacy. First factor is chemical structure. What is the chemical structure of preservative that will affect the efficacy of that particular antimicrobial preservatives? Next is dose. Dose will affect as what is the quantity of dose will affect the preservatives properties. Physiochemical properties of drug will also affect efficacy of antimicrobial preservative. Next factor is type and level of microbial contamination. Factors will depend upon what is the type and what is the level of microbial contamination. Is it low or present in a high dose? So, the level of microbial contamination will also affect the efficacy of antimicrobial preservatives. Next factor is design of pack. Next factor is storage temperature for finished product. As we know that temperature plays a very wide role in many physiological or physiochemical processes. Storage temperature will affect the efficacy as it will affect the time that will be for the antimicrobial preservative for the degradation, and also it can also affect many other physiochemical processes. So temperature becomes a major factor affecting efficacy of antimicrobial preservatives. Next factor is range of its function. It will depend upon that antimicrobial preservative is either working on narrow spectrum or it is working on a broad spectrum. Its range of function will affect its efficacy. So these were some factors that affect efficacy of antimicrobial preservatives. Factors affecting the availability of preservatives. The point is most preservatives interact in solution with many of the commonly used ingredients of pharmaceutical formulations to varying extent via a number of weak bonding attractions. As we know that weak bonding attractions are hydrogen bond, hydrophobic bond, van der Waals, जबकि although covalent bonds are most strongest type of bonds. So weak bonding attractions are present most of the time. as well as with any microorganism present. This can result in unstable equilibrium in which only a small proportion of the total preservative present is available, and it is available to inactivate the relatively small microbial mass, and the resultant rate of killing may be far lower than might be anticipated from the performance of simple aqueous solutions. Next point is, it is commonly believed that where the solute concentrations are very high and AW, that is activity of water or water activity, is appreciably reduced, the efficiency of preservatives is often appreciably reduced and may be virtually inactive at very low water activity. This would only offer minimal protection for the dry tablets. Effect of product pH, efficiency in multi-phase system, and effect of container or packaging. These are main factors that are responsible for the affecting the availability of preservatives. Quality assurance and the control of microbial risk in medicines. Introduction. Quality assurance, that is QA, relates to a scheme of management which embraces all the procedures necessary to provide a high probability that a medicine will conform consistently to a specified description of quality on every occasion. Since many microorganisms may be hazardous to patient and or spoil formulations if they enter and remain active in medicines, so it is necessary to perform a contamination risk assessment for each product, and this is done by examining every stage of its anticipated life from raw materials to administrations, and develop strategies calculated to reduce the overall risk to acceptably low levels. Next point is, risk assessments concerning microorganisms are complicated by uncertainties, and these uncertainties are about the exact infective and spoilage hazards, and risk likely for many contaminants, and by difficulties in measuring their precise performance in complex systems. Since, for example, it is impossible to guarantee that any particular microorganism will not be infective the presumption is made that all microbes are potentially infective for routes of administration, and where the likelihood of infection from contaminants is high. Such medicines are then supplied in a sterile form. Next point, one must also presume that those administering medicines may not be highly skilled or motivated in contamination control techniques and incorporate additional safeguards to control risk more appropriate to these situations. Next is quality assurance in formulation design and development. The point is possibly the majority of risk of microbial infection and spoilage arising from microbial contamination during manufacture, storage, and use could be eliminated by presenting all medicines in sterile, impervious, and single dosage units. Next point is the high risk of infection by contaminants in parenteral medicines combined with concern about the systemic toxicity of preservatives almost always demands sterile single dosage unit. Next point is as part of the design process, it is necessary to include features in the formulation and delivery system to provide as much protection as possible against microbial contamination and spoilage. Because of potential toxicity and irritancy problems, antimicrobial preservatives should only be considered where there is clear evidence of positive benefits. Next point is preservatives are intended to offer further protection against environmental microbial contaminants. Next point, some preservative challenge tests add relatively large inocula of various laboratory cultures to liquids of the medicine and determine their rate of inactivation by viable counting methods, that is, single challenge test, whilst others re-inoculated repeatedly at set intervals. Monitoring the efficiency of inactivation until the system fails, that is a multiple challenge test. The problem arises when deciding whether performance in such tests gives reliable predictions of real in-use efficacy. Next point is attempts to maintain spoilage activity by inclusion of formulation ingredients in the culture media gives varied results. Some manufacturers have been able to maintain active spoilage strain by cultivation in unpreserved or diluted liquids of formulations. Next comes good pharmaceutical manufacturing practices. Very first point is GPMP is concerned with the manufacture of medicines and includes control of ingredients, plant construction, process validation and production and cleaning. Quality control is the part of GPMP dealing with specification documentation and assessing conformance to specification. Next point, with traditional quality control, a high reliance was placed on testing samples of finished products to determine the overall quality of a batch. Next point, it is now generally accepted that a high assurance of overall product quality can only come from a detailed specification, control, and monitoring of all the stages which contribute to the manufacturing processes. Next point, it may be necessary to exclude certain undesirable contaminants from starting materials such as pseudomonads from bulk aluminum hydroxide gel or to include pre-treatment to reduce overall bioburdens by irradiations such as for is Pagula husk and spices. The ability to clean and dry equipment thoroughly is a very useful deterrent to growth. Next point is it may be necessary to include intermediate steps within processing to reduce the bioburden and improve the efficiency of lethal sterilization cycles or to prevent swamping of the preservative in a non-sterile medicine after manufacture. With some of the newer and fragile biotechnology derived products processing may include chromatography and ultrafiltration stages. Next point is in a validation exercise, it must be demonstrated that each stage of the system is capable of providing the degree of intended efficiency within the limits of variation for which it was designed. Quality control procedures. The very first point is whilst there is general agreement on the need to control total microbial levels in non-sterile medicines and to exclude certain species which have proved troublesome previously, the precision and accuracy of current methods for counting some microbes in complex product is poor. acute pathogens present in low numbers and often damaged by processing can be very difficult to isolate. Next point is the type of culture media and conditions of incubation may greatly influence any viable count obtained from products. Next point, most manufacturers perform periodic tests on their products for total microbial bioburden and for the presence of non-problem microorganisms to be used for in-house confirmation of the continuing efficiency of their GPMP systems rather than as conventional end product conformance test. In order to reduce the cost of testing and shorten quarantine periods, there is considerable interest in alternatives to conventional test methods. Next point is endotoxin, that is pyrogens level in parenteral and similar products must be phenomenally low in order to prevent serious endotoxic shock on administration. Formerly, this was checked by injecting rabbits and noting any febrile response. Post-market surveillance. Despite extensive development and a rigorous adherence to procedures, one cannot guarantee absolutely that a medicine will never fail under the harsh abuses of real life uses. A proper quality assurance system must include procedures for monitoring in-use performance and for responding to customer complaints. So thank you very much guys for watching this session. Follow ITLS Academy on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, WhatsApp and LinkedIn. Thank you for watching. If you like the video, then like, share and subscribe ITLS Academy. Thank you very much.